with a regularly scheduled public meeting of the Shreveport-Caddo Parish Metropolitan Planning Commission. We are going to begin with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. So stand if you wish, and we'll have Mr. Andrews lead us in the invocation and Mr. Paul lead us in the pledge.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for this opportunity to serve and to be called servants. We pray that as we traverse through these requests today, that you give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding so that the decisions we make will be for the betterment of not only the Shreveport area community, but the surrounding areas as well. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, again, greetings to everyone, and we really appreciate y'all being here today. I know that it's a sacrifice to come and spend your day with us here in this lovely room, but we appreciate it, and we will try to be as quick as possible. All right, for public hearing agenda items, if you wish to make a public comment on an application, we have MPC comment slips at the speaker stand next to the podium, and for future notification purposes, it's very important that you fill out a slip and drop it in the box when you come forward to speak. Please state your full name, mailing address, and zip code before addressing the board. We will call each case on the agenda in order, and we'll hear first from the applicant, then those speaking in favor. 10 minutes are allotted to the principal spokesperson, and 3 minutes for each spokesperson thereafter, so keep that in mind when deciding who's going to come first. We will then hear from those wishing to speak against the application, and again, 10 minutes are allotted for the principal spokesperson and 3 minutes for each additional speaker. One representative of the application can then speak in rebuttal if desired. After hearing comments on each case, the board will then immediately deliberate and vote on that case before moving on to the next case on the agenda. Please note that when the board is deliberating, members of the public are not permitted to comment. Any member of the public may request a copy of the board's decisions on a particular case by contacting our office at 318-673-6480 after 1 o'clock tomorrow, or by accessing our website at ShreveportCaddoMPC.com. For consent agenda items, and I don't think we have any today, and other agenda items not requiring a public hearing, public comments can be made upon request by filling out an MPC comment slip. If comments are requested for a specific agenda item, the chair will offer an opportunity for those comments prior to the commission taking action on that item. All of the MPC board's zoning recommendations are submitted to either the city council or the parish commission for a final decision, depending on the location of the property in question. Please note that it's your responsibility to contact the appropriate governing body about their procedure as related to the matter that you're concerned with. Copies of this document and the phone numbers to contact the governing bodies are available on the table next to the podium and in the entryway to this room. And as a courtesy, please remember to turn off all your cell phones while the MPC board is in session. The commission values your testimony, and we appreciate your compliance with these guidelines. So next will be approval of our minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
From the July 10th, 2019 meeting. A motion by Mr. Andrews, a second by Mr. Colvin. Call for the vote. Oh, wait. What's this? What's going on here?
Just touch the screen.
Touch the screen.
I know, but this is new. Why is that there? Oh. Okay. All right.
Marissa, can you do the
Is
vote?
that everyone?
Mr.
Mr. Voca.
Do the vote. No vote?
Just touch it.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, and our July minutes are approved. Thank you. All right, so moving into our scheduled public hearing items, case number 19312C, a small planned unit development, a SPUD, I believe. Mr. Clark, this application has been withdrawn?
It has been withdrawn, Madam Chair, by the applicant, We Care Ministries Outreach Program. The project is not dead. they have reviewed the project and they are going to resubmit with some uses that are uses by right in accordance with the UDC.
All right, so no, we don't need to take any action?
But they have withdrawn the application.
Okay. All right. Next case, number 19362Z, which is a rezoning request. The applicant is pronounced Rabboni, Kingdom Church. If you'll just state your name and a mailing address, and thanks for coming.
My name is Dwayne LaFall. The mailing address is 2121 Fairfield Avenue, Shreveport, Louisiana 71104.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want to tell us a bit about your application?
Yes, Rabboni Kingdom Church, we are interested in going on Greenwood Road. In that particular location, we feel like we can really make a difference in the community. We have business people within our congregation, and we want to not only make an impact spiritually, but we want to deal with social issues, with mentoring, and also in business mentoring as well. And I believe that we have the tools in order to do that.
Okay. In this industrial area, which is kind of interesting.
Right? It's an area where I grew up as a kid. I actually grew up on Norton Street, right around the corner, so I'm familiar with the area extremely well, being that I've grown up there. And I believe that now I have an opportunity to come back and make a difference in our community.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. LaFall. Any questions for Mr. LaFall? All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Is there anyone else here to speak in support of this application?
Good afternoon. I'm Brad Armstrong, 602 Somerville Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm with Vintage Realty Company, but I represent the owners, Mr. Stephen Lehrer, who used to run Apex Plumbing. Mr. Lehrer asked me to list his property about a year and a half ago. We've had some offers. We didn't take them. But Mr. LaFall somehow got in touch with Mr. Lehrer, and sometimes paths cross for the right reason. And actually, we're doing a donation. We've got so many blighted properties in this city and so many owners that don't keep them up and don't do anything with them. And this is an instance where we have an out-of-town owner who's willing to give a building for a cause like this. So I ask for your support to pass this so that we can make a difference in that community. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Wait, just one sec. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Armstrong? Just check my board. We're good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else here to speak in favor of this application? All right, seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition? All right, seeing no opposition, board
Motion to
discussion?
approve. Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. Colvin. Call for the vote. Oh. Well, I think that would be out of order at this point. Do you want, I think someone on our staff can probably help answer that question for you. Thank you. All right, and that application is approved. Thank you very much. All right, and our next application is case number 19301 WFC. It's a special use permit and site plan. The applicant is Falk and Foster. Mr. Arsenault, welcome.
Yeah, I rise simply for the purpose of requesting this matter be deferred until September. I'm not the principal spokesperson, so if you decide not to defer, somebody else will come speak about these technical issues.
Okay.
As you know, we got quite a detailed staff report late Friday afternoon. It raises some issues that we need to address. In addition, I think you received today a lengthy opposition from another person who owns a tower somewhat nearby. And we would like the opportunity to respond to those things, so we respectfully request that you defer this, and should you do that, we'll make our presentation at your September meeting.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Arsenault, before you leave the podium, we all know and love who you are, but there are those of us who do not, and she's required to record name and address.
I'm terribly sorry. Tom, I did fill out a slip, however. Tom Arsenault, Regents Tower, 333 Texas Street, Shreveport, 71101-221-6858. Thank you very much, Mr. Andrews.
Good to see you, Tom.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
even though Mr. Arsenault said he may not be the primary speaker, we didn't start the time clock. We need to start the time clock for 10 minutes for primary speakers and 3 minutes for additional speakers.
Okay, yes, I'll move forward. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of this application? And I know that it will go forward, but don't we, and I'll just clarify for procedurally, until there's a motion, or until we have our speakers, that's when we'll have our motion on the deferral?
Yeah, I was just going to speak in support of the deferral, so I
Okay.
just wanted to confirm that Chip Lyons, 201 St. Charles, New Orleans, Louisiana, here on behalf of Verizon, and we support the deferral.
The deferral, okay?
Ms. Cooper, in that case, I would respectfully request that you suspend your rules to act on, if there is a motion to defer, to act on the motion to defer, because otherwise we'll have to make our presentation. It will
Okay.
waste your time.
Right, and I would defer to maybe our director about that. If there are people present today not having notice of the request for deferral who are here perhaps out of town to speak in opposition, then I just wanted to allow them that opportunity, unless, so they don't have to travel again. Or they may choose to travel again, they may not choose to. But generally, since it was on the docket today, that makes sense.
If there are speakers, and there are speakers here that are in opposition,
I believe
and they
they're
are
planning-
from out of town.
And I don't know for sure that they're planning to speak today, but I would
Yes,
want
yes,
to
ma'am.
welcome.
And so in that particular instance, we may reserve the right to rebut things that they may say today, but not make our presentation, should the board decide to defer. And we would respectfully request that you make that decision before there is a presentation, but I certainly understand the chair's point.
Okay, thank you.
We believe, Madam Chair, that if you have an application you've allowed them to speak in favor of, that you need to allow the opposition to speak against the application.
I think that's how we've done it in the past.
That's been the traditional method of handling these types of situations.
And if that would impact if there's a deferral, there will be another opportunity in September. But if you wish to present anything, you're welcome to.
Based on the information from those that are in opposition, you may vote not to defer.
And-
You would not have the pleasure of that information if you did not allow them the opportunity to speak.
Correct. All right, and I will, there will be an opportunity for rebuttal, so, okay.
Can I ask something? What is the benefit to defer about deferring this? What would be the benefit of deferring this?
Well, it's been,
To give them a chance to address all the issues.
they got a lengthy report Friday,
Okay.
and and it's their first request for deferral. Generally, unless there's good cause or something,
The MPC had a list of suggestions,
Okay.
so they want time to do it.
right, which is, all right, so before moving to the opposition, is there anyone else here who would like to speak in favor of the request for deferral or the application? All right, seeing none, is there anyone here who would wish to speak in opposition to either the application or the request for deferral or both?
Yes, ma'am.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Madam Chair, before I speak, this was a little bit confusing because we do have opposition to the deferral and a significant opposition to the application because of the negative impact. So I guess I'm trying to understand before my shot clock starts, what am I, there's reasons why this should not be deferred, but there are also, as you can see from the PowerPoint we've given you, there's significant reasons the whole project should not be approved. So how do I allocate? And that was my understanding that,
Well,
I'm sorry.
If you'd like to limit this to the deferral question, and with the knowledge that we may be coming back in a month, I don't know what you would plan to do. If we return in September, would you come back to the area and wish to speak again? Or would you want to take that opportunity now?
I think we ought to take the opportunity now because, as the gentleman was just mentioning, you may, after we go through this project, you may decide deferral's not necessary because the staff is recommending denial. And the information that has been provided to them has been provided to them for several months. So with your permission, I think it's on its merits, it should not be approved. So I'd like to proceed on with that. With that in mind, I understand we have a 10-minute rule. I will get through this as quickly as I can, but it is impactful on your community, and I may ask for a little forgiveness if I'm a minute or so over.
Okay, and go ahead and just begin with your name. And
Absolutely.
Yes, sorry.
Good afternoon. My name is Bebb Francis, 112 East Pecan in San Antonio. I am counsel for SBA Structures. SBA Structures owns and operates the telecommunications tower that is only 0.22 miles away from the proposed Hemp Hill Tower, the Hemp Hill 180-foot tower. As you will see from the PowerPoint, it not only is it 0.22 miles away, it's just across the parking lot from the Walgreens Supercenter. SBA has owned and operated this tower since 2001, and Verizon Wireless right now is providing excellent voice and data service to your community, even as highlighted on their online website, showing that they have excellent 4G LTE service. They've been providing that service on this tower since 2010. Staff's excellent report and detailed report, and also your consultant's analysis, highlights the fact that this application fails to address significant elements of your code. There's nothing new that has been raised by staff. Nothing new has been raised by your consultant. Hemp Hill has either chosen not to respond to the requirements of your code or has failed to provide the information. That's all. There is nothing new in the application. In fact, the reason that we're here today is a vital decision. What is in the best interest of your community? Is in the best interest of Shreveport and your residents, or in the best interest of Hemp Hill and Verizon? You see, in 2017, Verizon announced at a big fanfare that they were going to contract with companies like Hemp Hill to target communities like Shreveport, to come into the communities to build towers as close as physically possible to existing towers, not for the purpose of increasing service or resolving gaps, but solely for the business plan to build towers as close as possible to remove tower antennas that are providing coverage and move them onto another tower. That's it, leaving the communities with duplicitous, unnecessary towers. Your consultant addressed this, pointing out that business considerations should not be considered for justification of the new facility. Business considerations should not be included in the justification for the transfer of the proposed tower. This is your consultant. Now, the report is in your package in respect to your time, but I want you to appreciate the impact that this tower will have on your community. This is an example of a 181-foot monopole. It's in your parish. Now, a 180-foot monopole is the equivalent to an 18-story building. So when you walk out the door and look at your downtown, you're all familiar with your buildings, what an 18-story structure looks like. Now, the impact on your community, this is a shot showing the location that Hemp Hill is proposing to install a 180-foot tower, and look how close the SBA existing tower is, 0.22 miles, 387 yards, less than one lap around the Bird athletic track. That's how close it is. Now, look at the relationship it is to the existing Goodwill, and we'll get into that a little bit better. We would like to have shown you the total height of an 80-foot, but it's so tall getting these pictures, we couldn't have the appropriate angle. Again, the location of the proposed Hemp Hill Tower as it relates to the adjacency to the Goodwill. And this is telling. It'll be 37.5 feet. 37.5 feet from the Goodwill Tower. Goodwill store. Again, this is what the residents and the citizens and your shoppers, people that frequent Cinemark, will be experiencing and this shopping center development. The survey for this site produced by Hemp Hill confirms that the tower will only be 37.5 feet from a Goodwill store. Now, Verizon touts, as I said, that they have excellent 4G LTE service. They submitted through, and staff has presented to the public, Verizon Wireless's what we think are radio frequency plots that were analyzed not only by our team but also by your consultant. In looking at these plots very quickly before I point to the specifics, your consultant says that the submitted documents, these plots, was reviewed and are not accurate. Verizon's plots are not accurate in respect to determining the proof of need. They're not sealed. Note that the propagation studies are useless from an analytical verification unless accompanied by modeling. And critically, you'll see each map fails to show the coverage that Verizon is providing you from the existing tower 0.22 miles away. This is an attempt, and we cannot explain this. See the triangle? That is what Hemp Hill, I believe, is saying, and Verizon, where their tower will be. They say, oh, look, we have a service gap, but they're not showing where the coverage is from Verizon from the existing SBA tower. What they've done is they've turned off the commuter model of that and to create this illusionary gap. Magically, they say, wow, look, the gap, it will be cured when we do our tower and they turn on their tower. This is even more amazing. They did the same thing. They create this map, they turn off the tower, and say, look at this gray blob, look at the lack of capacity is occurring. But they aren't showing the Verizon antennas on the SBA tower as noted by your consultant. It is totally misleading because look at the map when they say, oh, look at the wonderful capacity our tower will provide. We have provided a sealed engineer's letter. We'd love to go through it, but the time permitting, licensed engineers that took an analysis of not only the SBA tower at 158 feet with Verizon, at 180 foot if they do need it extended, but also compared it to the coverage that Hemp Hill says that Verizon will receive. The conclusion by the sealed engineer's letter is there is minimal improvement, if any. Moving along, SBA, this is a critical letter. It's in your package. I hope you'll take a minute to look at it. Ms. Kitchens has put in the letter that's the last modification request by Verizon on this tower was 2015. Since 2015, Verizon has not reached out to SBA and said, hey, we need to modify the equipment. 4 years, they have not even contacted them. First we hear about it is the shadow tower request produced under the business plan I explained to you. Your zoning ordinance, as you certainly know, the SUP requirements, staff picks up on this. You have to be in context and character, excuse me, of the surrounding properties. We have located, interestingly, after a title run, this is very important. As you'd expect in a major development like this, there are restrictive covenants and conditions. I guess Hemp Hill didn't do their due diligence before because there's a reciprocal pre-dial servitude development agreement that says the height limitation originally was 35 feet. 35 feet, they're asking for a 180-foot tower. And then it was subsequently amended to 42 feet. The properties that it affect for your record are including Lot 2, which is this proposed track. And this is just the aerial. Again, also your section dealing with wireless communications ordinance. As your consultant noted, they haven't complied. They haven't responded to the requirements to produce the documents your staff listed in their comprehensive report, basing that upon, basing their denial based on their failure to comply or just disregard your ordinance. One important thing to point out to you, if I may, they act like this is a big surprise, that they came in and filed the application. The original construction plans for this project they submitted to you are dated November of last year, which means to order construction plans, you all deal with it on a regular basis. Months before, they had to review your ordinance, they had to enter into a lease, they had opportunity to meet with your staff, they chose not to, they filed an application, then come up here and feign surprise, oh, staff is telling us we didn't comply. Staff has worked with them, and they had shown that either they have an intentional disregard and to try to move this forward while it doesn't comply with your SUP requirements and the radio frequency maps, which are the backbone of a lot of the consultants' report. Again, I need to say they were reviewed, and the reports are not accurate or adequate in respect to determining the proof of the need of the facility. Madam Chair, members of the commission, we're here today to again stress to you that the deferral is not necessary. It's a pure delay tactic claiming that, oh, we have a surprise. Yet when you read the staff report, which is done beautifully, there's nothing new added. There is not a, oh, you forgot chapter 7, Hemphill. No, it's saying you haven't produced these documents, therefore we cannot approve this tower that, again, is only 0.22 miles away from the existing tower. Respectfully request the opportunity to respond to any questions you have, because this is a program that is occurring nationally, where cities like yours are being targeted with what we have named shadow towers. As a final comment and for you, this program led at the end of the year last year to a tower company under this program applying in a town called Deer Park, Texas, for a tower 200 feet from the existing SBA tower. That's the business plan your consultant says cannot support an approval of this type of process. Fortunately, the Deer Park Commission voted to deny the application for a conditional use permit. Thank you. I'm sorry it was so rushed, but this is so critical, and I am disturbed by the claim of, oh, we have a surprise. And I respectfully request that there's action and a denial on this application. Thank you for your patience, and I'll ask if there are any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Any questions? Any questions? I would have one question, just briefly.
Yes, ma'am.
Other than the inconvenience of a month's time and the travel because of your location, is there any particular prejudice that you are concerned about if there's a 1 month deferral?
Yes, ma'am, in the sense that there's nothing that can be added. Unless they come in and ask for a deferral to move a tower to an area that needs service. The fact, what can they add? That's the only thing that would resolve a 180-foot structure. Next month, they'll be coming back asking for it again, but saying, oh, look, we have this additional map. That's not going to move their application and the impact it will have on your community.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Is there anyone else here that would wish to speak in favor of this application? I'm sorry, speak in opposition, pardon me. Anyone else here to speak in opposition? Hello, welcome.
Good afternoon.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Isn't that weird?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Alvin Meester. I'm an attorney with Sher Garner in New Orleans, 909 Poydras, New Orleans, Louisiana, representing SBA Communications. I want to spend just a couple of minutes again talking about the deferral. The applicant is asking for a deferral, again, acting as though this new items are coming up, new issues are coming up, but read the staff report. The staff prepared a very strong report itemizing why the applicant hasn't satisfied the specific application requirements. The consultant, very strong consultant report stating that the application is insufficient, and most importantly, and what our lead argument was that business considerations are not legitimate reasons to move a tower or to build a new tower. Very, very important. That is one thing that they can't change. I don't think they should be allowed to supplement, but that's something they can't supplement. This is a business reason. That's not permitted. That's why they're doing this. But that's not all we're arguing. We're arguing that they have not submitted what they were supposed to. Now that they're getting pushback from the staff, getting pushback from CMS, your consultant, they're saying, oh, wait, this is all new. No, everything that the staff has brought up and the consultant has brought up is in the UDC. Now, the UDC has been around for a long time, well before they applied for this. One thing I learned in law school was that ignorance of the law is no defense. And that's what they're doing today. Oh, we didn't know this, we didn't know that. They've been talking to staff since March. It took them about 2 months just to prepare an application. Then they meet with staff at a pre-application or a pre-hearing conference. Still don't have it right. Last meeting got continued because they still didn't have it right. Staff prepares a report, CMS prepares a report. We're here now. They still don't have it right. Now they're asking, give us more time. I think that they've had a lot of time. The one substantive issue I'm going to talk about, the structural report and the fall zone letter. In the CMS report, they stated that the applicant did not provide structural and foundation reports because it was too expensive. Now, just as an aside, I'm a little concerned if someone is building a 180-foot tower and they can't front the money to do structural reports. But that's just an aside. And
Madam Chair, the time has expired.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay.
You can wrap
And
up.
on that issue, they didn't provide a structural report. There's an insufficient fall zone letter, and under the UDC, it cannot be waived. So it shouldn't be waived, and if it's going to be deferred, they need to spend the money and provide a structural report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wait, let me see if anyone has any questions for, it was Mr. Meester? Meester? Anyone have any questions? Any questions? That's all right, for Mr. Meester, no questions? Okay, we're good, thank you, thank you. Anyone else here to speak in opposition to this application? All right, would anyone care to come back for a rebuttal? You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm just going to speak to the deferral issue. The biggest thing that they've raised is an alleged failure to provide analysis with respect to the tower. And I will agree with Mr. Meester about one thing. Hemp Hill has been in constant contact with the planner on this. In fact, And I know that SBA has this because they made a public records request and they got it. So they didn't mention it to you, but I'm going to mention it to you. On June 20th of this year, Ralph Weingarten, who has been handling this, specifically asked whether or not they needed to provide a propagation map for the existing SBA tower. He specifically asked, do we need to do this? Here's the response. Adam was on vacation from Ms. Thigajarajan. I'm sure I'm butchering it, but that's the best I could do today. Adam was on vacation and got back to the office today, so I ran this by him, and he agrees that we do not need a propagation study for the from location, but only for the to location. So, the mention of propagation and the 50 pages of PowerPoint you got today are the things that we need to respond to that we have not had an opportunity to respond to. And frankly, I won't go through all of them, but there were a number of other mischaracterizations in the presentation. We respectfully request a deferral.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Roca?
I mean, based on what you have seen, the last report, just give me an example of something that could potentially change dramatically the recommendation.
The difference in service to Verizon by moving and the service area, and we will be able to present that information to you. And there are some other requirements that the consultant requested. We'd like to have a chance to refer to those. I will tell you, this is the same process we just got finished with in Bossier, and I promise you that was a very similar presentation. Bossier MPC and the Bossier City Council approved it. All right. I'll also point out to you that .22, I noticed it was all .22 miles and 300 yards. That's over 1,000 feet. But when you choose to use the small numbers, it makes a better impression. But that's the kind of mischaracterization that we should have the right to respond to, and we respectfully request that you give us that right, Mr. Roca.
Oh, yes. Mr. Remedios has a question.
Is this your first request for a continuance?
Yes. It was on the agenda in July, but Hemphill was not aware that it was on the agenda in July, and Mr. Weingarten was told while he was at his desk in Grand Rapids, Michigan, that it was going to be on the agenda that day. So that's why it wasn't on your July, why you did not act on it. There was no request for a continuance per se.
Okay. And
there was no staff report either prior to that meeting.
no, there was no staff report presented back to the applicant?
Until Friday afternoon at 4:29.
Okay. And that was after?
Now that's not that part is not unusual,
Yeah.
Mister. I'm not in
No,
any
I know
way
you're-
trying to
yeah.
criticize the staff. We typically get those reports on Thursday or Friday. This one is particularly long. It raises a number of technical issues that we believe we have responses to. Because of the timing, we're really not able to provide those responses today.
Well, no, and the reason why I ask these questions is because the staff, we've had several cases where, and you've been involved in some of them, they've gone back and forth numerous times, and we do, as a board, I've seen, we've tried to kind of put things to bed for the staff so they can move on to the next item. However, I feel like almost a precedence has been set where, within reason, we've granted a continuance if, we talk to the staff and they feel like this is the one time, and it's been, so I was just trying to get the I guess caught up on the timeline as far as what has taken place.
We believe the only time we've really been asked to come before this body is today. It was on the agenda apparently. I was not here. Apparently it was on the agenda, but we were not aware it was going to be on the agenda, so there wasn't any presentation.
Okay. Again, I was just looking
Yes,
to
sir.
be sure this wasn't one of the cases that had gone on and on and on and on and was kind of a nagging issue for the staff. Okay.
That
That's
is
all
not the
questions I
case.
had.
That is not the case here, Mr.
Thank you
Remedios.
very much.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Arsenault?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any, do you have a motion on the question of deferral?
I have a question for staff.
Okay, sure, Mr. Remedies.
For, Stephen, are you more familiar with this than Mr. Clark? Or,
We both equally.
are you both?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Just to answer your earlier question, the staff has no problem with the request for defer and continue, because as he did say, the report did only go out Friday, and it was quite a lengthy report.
Yes, sir.
And it possibly will give them an opportunity to respond to all the requests that were made by staff.
Okay, so it was just this past Friday that the
Friday.
report went out, and okay, and just for the record, you know, you try to get these on the agenda as quickly as possible,
Yes.
so it's not as if the staff was sandbagging or waiting to put the report out, but it takes a bit of time to put it on. But so many things are time sensitive that you guys put it on the agenda and then get the staff report out as quickly as possible. And in this case, we do maybe sometimes grant.
And this was quite a lengthy report. It was like 9 pages long with all kind of information on it, and that's the only reason
So
that we don't have a problem with if you are so inclined to defer and continue.
okay, all right. But up until this point, has it seemed if something's been requested, has it been have they been responsive, or has it been?
To my understanding, and I'm looking at Monteswini, to my understanding, they have been responsive. It's just been an interesting process.
Sure, and I know a lot of it's new to the staff
Yes.
too, so that's where it's kind of a learning curve for you guys. But again, just wanted to be sure that you guys weren't getting stonewalled when you request information to complete that staff report. And okay, that's all the questions I had. Thank you.
All right. Pending any other discussion, board, what is your pleasure?
Make a motion to defer it.
All right, a motion to defer by Mrs. Smith. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Remedies. Call for the vote. Or any discussion, we can call for the vote. All right, and the motion to defer has been approved. For deferral for 1 month, and we appreciate everyone's patience. We try to be consistent with the deferral process with our applicants, absent some major reason. We just try to be consistent and fair. So we appreciate, we apologize for any inconvenience. But we do look forward to your feedback and appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on to the next application, I'm lost. Number 9. All right, case number 19-300 CAP, closure and abandonment. Let's see. Is this one? Yeah, the applicant's the Parish of Caddo, Department of Public Works. Okay, great. Sorry, I had a line through it. Like I thought maybe I had marked it out. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commission members. Jimmy Whittington, Caddo Parish Public Works, 505 Travis Street, Suite 820. We received a request for the closure and abandonment of this dedication from Mr. Sepulvado. He owns all of the surrounding property. It is a public dedication. The Department of Public Works does not maintain the road that is on this public dedication, but we have no objection to the closure and abandonment. And I'll be happy to, and I believe your staff did recommend approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Whittington? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here in opposition to this application? Okay. Seeing none, board, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Andrews, a second by Ms. DeMarteau. Call for the vote. All right, that application has been approved. Thank you. All right, next case, number 19-370C. It's a rezoning case. The applicant is Betty White. This might have something to do with some horses.
Let's see.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Betty L. White. I live at 5732 King Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71129.
All right.
And I have a short letter I would like to read first. Is that okay? Okay.
Yes,
I've
ma'am.
already given my name and address.
Hey, she got it.
My father and mother, the late Ernest and Sally Leonard, acquired the property, 5732 King Street, in the middle 1930s. As far back as I can remember, there has been assorted livestock on this property: cows, horses, pigs, sheep, poultry, and rabbits. I love livestock, poultry, and horses. They serve a great purpose. If any of you have ever eaten fresh eggs, to me, they're delicious. I love them. And also, the dishes that they make, they're outstanding. Also, the poultry, they're gonna keep down the pests and keep that under control. The horses are a walking lawnmower. They will eat most grass, keeping it at a desirable height. And I would not have to pay anyone to cut it. I use their manure in my garden. They produce nitrogen, and they keep my plants healthy and green. When my grandchildren or their friends come to visit, they see real livestock. Having so many questions and amazement on their face is priceless. The livestock will have a combination of safety, shelter, water, food, and any medical concerns arise that will be taken care of. The livestock so far has never gotten out, and I don't see this as a problem. I am a 4-year breast survivor. I had bilateral knee surgery in May 2018. The daily chores, caring for livestock, is therapy for me by relieving stress, wellness, and it keeps me busy. As with so many seniors today, we have to take charge of our lives, not waiting. I don't have anyone to wait on us. So these livestock are God sent to me. So what I am hoping for is this commission would respectfully approve this rezoning. This subdivision was called Risa back in the day when I was growing up. And now it's changed to unit subdivision. We've always had horses. There are also some horses already on different properties now. And I read one part of the letter that I got from the MPC. It was stating that I do meet the requirements, the length and the width of having this. But one of the concerns that I have is stating that the other areas around do not have the length and the width if they decided to do that. So it seems as though I am being penalized because I do have, or denied because I do have the property to keep the animals safe. So from there, I'm just gonna leave it up to you all.
All right.
I'd answer the question.
Thank you, Ms.
Mr. Clark. I know. Ms. Clark, do you have anything to say about this?
Ms. White, we did extensive research in reference to your property out in Research Subdivision. And we found that we went back in time where we had still photos of 2007, 2013, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And we realized that you had horses on this property as far back as 2007. And therefore, we have declared that your property is non-conforming, that there have been horses there for a period of time for it to become legal. And we've also declared that your chickens are non-conforming. Therefore, we're going to refund your money and your property is legal as of today.
I thank you, sir. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms. White.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank y'all.
Yeah. Bless you.
Thank you for being here, for making our day.
Yes, she made my day.
She's crying.
Yes, she is. Sweet as she can be. She's in love with her animals.
Makes me cry.
Equine
Yeah,
therapy.
bless
That's
her
really
heart.
made me cry.
Thank you, Lord.
All right. It's all downhill from here. All right.
Uphill.
Uphill. Next case number 19371C, another rezoning case. The applicant is Andrea Clark.
Better get us while we're in a good mood.
We won't be in a good mood with him.
We're always in a good mood.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andre Clark.
Okay.
We live at 3800 Goree, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71119.
And is Andre A-N-D-R-E-A?
ANDRE.
E, okay.
Yes.
So and you're the applicant?
Yes.
Okay, so, sorry, there was an A on the end.
Okay,
I
without the
mispronounced it.
Yes.
Thank you for that correction, okay. All right, you tell us a little about your application?
Actually, we're just here to ask for a rezoning from a C1 to L1. The property is located at 5502 Greenwood Road, and we just want to be allowed to be able to put a contractor's office. I have a lawn and landscaping, and we just wanted to be able to have a storage place for our equipment and stuff.
All right, great. Any questions for Mr. Clark? Anyone?
Is it just storage?
I'm sorry?
Just for storage purposes?
It's actually going to be a contractor's office. It's going to be an office, but at the same time, I'll have, a place to store the equipment, our trucks and of sort.
So no operations inside of the place, like?
Yes, inside, yes.
No, you're not gonna have like any machines operating 24/7 or during
No.
the day? It's just storing?
Yes,
Just for
sir.
storage purposes,
Mhm.
okay.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Clark. Anyone else here to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here to speak in opposition? All right.
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Andrews, second by Ms. DeMarteau, I think?
Sure.
Not sure who.
Yes.
Any discussion? We'll call for the vote. Okay, and that application is approved. All right, next case, number 19309P. It's a special use permit and site plan, and the applicant is Speedy's Drive-Thru. No, it's Mr. Here he goes. I know, it's funny. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Casey Hall. My mailing address is 10030 Somerset Lane, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106. And I've been here for asking for a special use permit.
Okay, do you want to tell us about your application? About your business?
Yeah, we try to open the business on Mansfield Road. It's on Keyview. And we try to sell like liquor.
Okay, packaged liquor.
Do I have?
Can y'all see that? Any questions for Mr. Ho?
I had one question.
Okay, Mr. Andrews?
Mr. Ho, good afternoon.
Hi, sir.
Do you guys have any kind of experience in retail at all?
Beer retail, you mean?
In selling anything?
Yes.
What kind of business do you currently own?
I own a jewelry store. I also own the LED sign company. I have two jewelry store now.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, any other questions, Mr. Harrow? All right, and has the staff told you, there's a few more requirements in order to get your permit as far as the drainage plan, the lighting plan, and the irrigation plan?
Yes.
You're familiar with that? Okay, you know that, okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other person here to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here in opposition to this application? All right, board, what is your pleasure?
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Thank you.
Hello.
Welcome.
My name is Michael R. Dacey. My address is 11734 Mansfield Road, Keithville, Louisiana, 71047. And I oppose the alcohol sales there. I've got residential property across the street. I've been there for 24 years. And I've been denied any business there due to it's a residential area for the past 24 years, and I don't feel like it's fair to me to have alcohol use and sales directly across the street or the strip mall that they're building now. I've got business all around me, but I don't believe this is a good place for alcohol sales. We got enough liquor stores and convenience stores up and down the highway there, and if you drive out there at night and see what's hanging around there, it's not a good sight.
All right, and your name and last name again is Ardacy?
Ardacy.
Ardacy, okay. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Ardacy?
No, I have a question for the staff.
All right, Mr. Roca?
So this is becoming a commercial area? Is that true?
The area that the application is in, if you look at the vicinity map, is all industrial, it's on property. The residence he's referring to is the RA across the street.
There's a Circle K gas station in my front yard that's been there for probably at least 30 years. And it's shown as residential on there, but it's not.
Okay, I accept that.
I'm sorry?
No, I accept that. I
Okay.
was just sharing with him that it's showing residential, but if it's a Circle K.
Well, they've recently closed it down due to their gas tanks leaking gas into the well water there, even on my property.
I know exactly where you are now.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question, Mr. Brooke?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else here to speak in opposition to this application? You're welcome.
How you doing? My name is Samuel DeYoung. My address is 12262 Mansfield Road, Keithville, Louisiana. I own a trailer park right down the street from this property. It's less than half a mile. Me and my wife have owned the trailer park for a little over 3 years now, and we have done everything we can to try to keep. We've had 36 arrests in our park for alcohol-related incidences, whether it be drunk driving or fighting. We've had armed robberies. We're trying to do our best to get our park where it needs to be a profitable business. We're registered. We have everything legal, but we have a casino right down the street, literally 3 businesses down. We have a convenience store that sells alcohol just past or right before that, and now they're trying to put in a liquor store less than half a mile from us. So we're getting hit with all angles with that. So that's my issue with it, is we're doing everything we can to try to make our community and our trailer park and our homes a better place. And I really don't think a liquor store is, the way to go, honestly. And that's my opinion on it.
All right, thank you, It's Mr. Dion?
DeYoung,
Dion-
DeYoung.
Dion, nice to have some neighbors spelled that way. Any questions for Mr. Dion?
Yeah, how far is the other liquor store from this one?
It's less than a mile. There's 2 liquor stores, actually. There's a casino and a gas station that sells liquor, and then there's a gas station right before you get to that one that sells hard liquor and beer and, et cetera, and tobacco and all that.
Any other questions for Mr. Dion? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, I just have a question for staff. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Ho, would you care to come and speak in rebuttal? Can you hear me?
Yeah, he's thinking about it.
Okay. Welcome
Hi.
back.
I just built a strip mall over there, and we will have the A business going there later.
I'm sorry, you say that again about the strip mall?
We will have the business going there too. That's-
He will have a business
A
as
business-
a part of the strip mall.
He's gonna have a business going there.
As part of the strip mall.
Can I ask you a question? The
Yes,
strip mall. What other kind of businesses are you planning to have in that strip mall?
we plan have like restaurant, nail salon, and one of space is for a spa, like they do tanning. And one of spa, I open the LED on there, LED light.
I mean, just for me, it seems like you have competition very close to you. And you have two liquor places very close. And, I mean, I don't know, it just seems to me that,
This one is, yeah. Yeah, this one's a drive-through.
It's a drive-through, isn't it?
Yes.
So I don't think the others are drive-throughs.
And they're quite a distance away if you look at your
And
interactive
it-
map.
and it- I don't
They're
know
not
if it really
close at all.
matters. Yeah. Let's read about
I think they're talking about even down below Keithville Elementary and Middle Schools, where the casinos and so forth are.
Right. Okay, any other questions?
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Remedy.
Just to understand, so you purchased this property from the previous owners, and you're building the strip center,
Yes.
but part of this, you intend to open up a business that, in part of it, to sell liquor with a drive-through.
Yes,
And
sir.
this is part of the application process, that this is just standard because it's not a use by right, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I wanted. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just have a staff, does anybody else have any questions for staff? I have a staff question. On the last paragraph of the report, it talks about the mitigation opportunities with the special use permit, if there's any safety or welfare concerns in the area. But it's, the comments made that it is appropriate for the surrounding area and that there's no need to impose any type of stipulations. Can y'all explain how there is no safety and welfare issues along this area?
I'm gonna let Mr. G answer that question for you.
Whoever would be the most appropriate.
One of the main things is this is all industrial now, and when that report's talking about that, is that when we generally look at these, as we've said before in other cases, the only place that you can get a use by right for alcohol is in C4. This is an I1. Because this is not immediately adjacent to the RA, it's across a busy highway. It's not likely you're going to have foot traffic going back and forth into those areas. Any impact would be on the industrial property that's right adjacent to. So it's a little bit different from other cases where we've had minor roadways, that are right across the street with incompatible zoning. This is a major highway across the street. So the immediate impact, we're talking about the immediate impact of this area around it. To mitigate that in any significant way through the site plan, we didn't see a way that really we could recommend ways to change what we've already done in dealing with the issue through the site plan process itself. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm just not sure how foot traffic is that relevant to a drive-through. I mean, it's a busy highway, there's residential right there, and this is a drive-through. So it does seem like it would have an impact.
But I think it's not
worthy
only
of
just,
mitigation.
it's with a drive-through. So the drive-through it's not exclusively a drive-through facility.
Okay.
And if I
so
may-
they're gonna sell
I think-
liquor as a liquor store and have the drive-through?
Yes. Yes.
So it is a liquor store with a
Yes.
drive-through?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not just a drive-through? Okay.
But I was just going to add that I think to maybe clarify, what they're saying is because there's not residences behind it, they're not gonna require a screening fence or a landscape buffer to, if people are coming through the drive-through, their headlights shining through someone's window that may live behind it. They looked at the surrounding map and said, well, there won't be someone sleeping 100 feet from there, so they don't need to require additional things to protect the neighborhood. Is that right? That's basically what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That was
Or
the staff assessment.
Special lighting so it doesn't impose on the neighbors, because everything around there is, with the exception of across a busy highway where you would get other light and noise before you would get to those residences.
And they still have to comply with light trespass ordinance that we have. They can't put any glare to the highway, any more light that would be out on the adjacent property. We check those with photometric studies to make sure that that's in compliance. So the lighting would not be an issue. When you're dealing with headlights, we were dealing with a busy highway here. We didn't see the way this property was laid out, a way that we needed to deal with that, other than what we already have on the site plan. If you take a look at the site plan, you'll see all the issues that we were dealing with through the site plan itself.
And just to add, if this application was on the side of the street where the RA property is, then our assessment would be totally different. This is a 4-lane median highway. This development will have minimal to no impact on the property across the street. It is industrial as of now, with heavy industrial uses on it. This will lighten the impact in that area by making it a strip center, which will be more receptive and more useful to the actual citizens in the area. It's not just a liquor store, it's a strip center.
If you will also look at the site plan, members of the board, you will see there is a section in the ordinance that deals with parking that faces a street right of way, and there's a requirement for screening of headlights. And if you'll look at that, you'll see that dense layer of vegetation that's shown on that site plan that mitigates that issue. That's why we felt like there was already enough in that site plan that mitigates a lot of the potential negative impacts, and that's why we were not asking for any further conditions to be placed on the site plan in order to allow the use.
And the site plan has already been approved, and therefore this development will proceed. All you're looking at is the special use permit for the drive-through alcohol sales.
All right, thank you. All right, any other discussion? What is your pleasure, board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion to approve by Mr. Remedies, a second by Ms. Smith. Call for the vote. All right, and that application is approved. All right, the next case, number 19341C, which is a UDC amendment.
Why do you all even send a letter out and ask anyone what their opinion is if you don't listen to it? And obviously you let whatever happen anyway. It's just the Walmart that's built up the street. Everybody in that area.
Sir, you're out of
opposed
order.
it.
You're out of order.
And-
We're going
and
to
I
continue
don't-
with our meeting.
Y'all are out of order all the time.
Okay.
And everybody
Thank
that's ever
you.
dealt with the MPC knows that.
Thank you. If we do have any letters or a way to contact the opposition to invite them for an opportunity to further explain how this comports with our master plan, and I would encourage us to do that. So our UDC amendments, who's going to be presenting the telecommunications section amendments? Is that going to be
That will be Adam Bailey.
Adam, Mr. Bailey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the request of Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint, there were some 11th hour requests that came in yesterday. We presented those to the carriers. They asked to review them in more time because they didn't 100% agree with what the requests were. So they have asked for an additional time to review those. They only asked for a week. Obviously, y'all don't have 2 monthly meetings, so I asked that this be deferred until the September meeting.
All right. We need to have a motion.
Make a motion to defer.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Smith, a second by Mr. Carl. Is that you? Okay. All right. And this is a motion to defer the UDC amendment recommendation. Call for the vote. All right, and that motion to defer is approved. Thank you. And now, on to food truck discussions. Woohoo. All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members. Prior to the meeting, I placed in front of you several handouts, one of them being the actual ordinance. There has been a few small minor changes from what you received in the board packet. When I refer to the ordinance itself, it'll start on page 4 of that first handout. Second handout is the actual application. It is very preliminary, but it'll make more sense once I go through the application. I've also actually included the presentation itself if y'all want to actually go through it as I quickly present. Understanding food truck amendment, same song, third verse. The timeline, where we're at, we're nearing the end. This all started back in May, where y'all reviewed and recommended it, went to City Council. I went to City Council for final vote. They remanded it. We've had a couple of public forums with the industry itself. Currently, we're on our 3rd review and recommendation, and because the city actually wants to fast track this, it will be introduced to them on Tuesday. Final passage will be on the 27th. As I said, on June 11th, City Council remanded this ordinance back to the MPC with the 3 instructions. I'll go over them very quickly. Basically, the first one is to delete the requirement that food truck and trailers are only permitted to operate in locations identified in an approved temporary use permit. The second one kind of goes on to with the temporary use permit is required to have written approval of the property owner as the condition of that temporary use permit. They wanted to add that. And the third was to consider enforcing these rules and other reasonable regulations with fines and with a suspension or revocation of the temporary use permit. We did have the limelight and we wanted to actually hear back from the industry themselves because we felt we didn't do that prior to introducing this to the MPC board. So on July 9th and July 16th, we held 2 public forums. Both of those were well attended. The first one was, actually the media was there. Second one didn't have as many, but it was still well attended. And they provided some feedback. What was that feedback? Eliminate the temporary use permit, streamline the process, create a one-stop shop, institute an easy-to-use application packet, which if you flip through that application packet, it's not just the application. It's a step-by-step process of who they need to contact, why they need to contact, phone numbers they need to contact them with, and the like. Another issue was to educate the city and parish departments because it was felt that sometimes the health department didn't know what the revenue was doing, revenue didn't know what fire prevention was doing, not everybody knew what the MPC was doing, so let's educate all the city and parish departments. Identify who receives the violations, whether it's the property owner or the food truck vendor themselves. Define the purpose for each license or permit. It's not just a food truck permit that they need. They need a health permit. They need an occupational tax license. So within that application packet, identify what they actually need and who they need to contact. Allow food trucks to operate in residential areas. I'll discuss that in a minute. Create food truck vendor sticker. So if an MPC inspector or if a city inspector or if a police officer or were to go by the food truck and it sees that sticker, chances are it's in compliance and they should be able to walk up and ask for, the health certificate or for the permission letter by the property owner. And finally, encourage inspections for illegal food trucks. As I presented to City Council back in June, There were only 8 registered with the city, and there's approximately 35 to 40 that operate within the area. So we went back to the drawing book. We looked at other cities: Raleigh, North Carolina, Greensboro, Greenville, Charlotte, Frisco, San Diego, New Orleans, and a little bit of what is in the current ordinance that we're proposing. What we're proposing is a little bit is taken from each of those cities. So what are these proposed regulations? So if you go to that page 4, I'm going to go through each section very quickly. It basically says that a food truck and trailer vendor license is required annually to conduct business on private property unless they're exempt. Who would be exempt? Mudbug Festival would be exempt because the sponsor or the promoter would actually have the occupational license, so you wouldn't need a food truck and vendor license. Antique shows, flea markets, if you're a private caterer, you don't need to have a food truck license. Also, if you want to do seasonal sales of crawfish, like Larry's or Chuck Wagon, and you just want to operate in that one spot, you need a temporary use permit. You don't need a food truck and trailer vendor license. That application packet that we have in front of you isn't just from the MPC. We coordinated with Revenue, so the information is information that they would want in there as well. Section 2, zoning and location requirements. It would be permitted under the use matrix for all commercial, industrial, and downtown zoning districts. Food trucks would only be allowed on lots where there is an existing business, and that business has a current certificate of occupancy. They wouldn't be able to operate on an abandoned lot. Updated the separation requirements from existing restaurants and outdoor dining areas, set a maximum number of food trucks that can go on the lot, and allow food trucks to operate within residentially zoned areas if they're part of an event that includes something with the neighborhood or homeowners association. Section 3, there are 25 operational standards. I'm not going to go over these one by one, but I'll hit the high points. They must park on a durable all-weather material surface. The food truck is secondary to the primary use. They can't connect to city water or sewage unless approved, and no illegal dumping would be allowed. They must report daily to their commissary, which is a requirement from the health department, that there's a minimum distance requirements from the building entrance, from fire hydrants and the like. They can't occupy parking spaces that are required to fulfill the minimum requirements of the principal use. That means that if the structure requires 10 parking spaces and they only have 11 parking spaces provided, they can't take up 2 of them. They would only be able to take up 1. But if they, provided 20, they only needed 10, then in theory they could take up to 10 with their parking, or with the truck and with their seating. And they must comply with all the signage and lighting requirements of the Unified Development Code. Section 4 says that no food or truck may be stored within a residential driveway when the front or corner side yard. Those are the same requirements as a recreational vehicle. And 5 specifically talks about the violations and enforcement, and it breaks it down on what department, whether it be the MPC, whether it be city revenue, whether it be the police department, on what their role is and what type of violation they can, or citation they can or cannot issue. So the new process and procedures, we've addressed specifically what City Council wanted. We actually eliminated the need for a temporary use permit. We got rid of it altogether. Food trucks will be permitted within those allowable zoning districts. The amendments would require that the operator obtain written permission for every property that they own. Within that application packet, there's a form. They can make a copy of it. So if they wanted to go to a private property owner, they say, hey, we want to operate a food truck here. Property owner would sign it, and they would keep that on the food truck with them at all times. That would be the City Council requirement number 2. And the third is what I mentioned is Section 5. We actually specifically talked about the violations and enforcement mechanisms within the UDC. Concurrently, we're talking about revising Chapter 42. So not only will the UDC amendments go in front of City Council on Tuesday or be introduced, Chapter 42, which also talks about food trucks, and the City Code will also be introduced. And within that, it will talk about enforcement mechanisms as well as fines and fees. To address the industry's concerns, we created a one-stop shop. No longer will a food truck have to go to Revenue, back to the MPC, back to Revenue, back to the MPC to get their license. One-stop one-stop shop. They'll come apply at the MPC, we'll gather the information, we'll send it to all the other departments as needed, and then once it's approved, we'll give them their permit as well as their sticker. Streamline the process, like is what I was talking about. I've already discussed the fees, but those fees won't change. It's currently $200 at the city level. It would be $50 at the to maintain or to get a temporary use permit. We're eliminating the $50, so it's actually technically cheaper. It's not $250, it's $200. And the better understanding on the inspection and enforcement process, which also alluded to in that section 5. That was it in a nutshell. It's a lot of information, but I've had 3 months to hopefully get it right. Are there any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Good question.
Whoa.
Mr. Clark, you have any idea about this food truck thing?
Mr. Andrews, I have spent more time talking about food trucks in the last 2 months than I ever want to think about again. But we are really proud of this ordinance, and we're really proud of the work that went into this ordinance. But the thing that we are most proud of, contrary to sometimes things you hear, we actually regrouped and sat down with food truck vendors. I invited as many food trailer vendors that were interested in coming, and we did not tell them about their industry. We sit there and listen to them and the concerns that they had and the things that they felt were necessary for this ordinance to make it manageable and useful and user-friendly. I'm proud of the idea that we actually will save them money in order to get the actual food truck vendor permit. We have streamlined the process. If you recall back some months ago, that was one of the things that was said negatively about the MPC, that things took too long, the process was too onerous. We've truly streamlined the process so that it's one-stop shop. They come in one time and go through, see one person, and they're out and about and they're gone. So I think that this is what the city council wants. At no time do we actually know exactly what the city council may want, but based on the things that they told us they wanted, we've even added more things to make it a much better ordinance, and it's a great job by Alan Bailey in researching all this information.
Thank you. Mr. Mead,
One thing I would ask that you guys add that should be very simple and very your ability to articulate and explain would be if it says you have written permission from the property owner. There are several properties, especially large properties, that people may live in Michigan, or I sold a property to a gentleman that lives in Boston, and it takes about 4 days to get him on the phone. If you guys could add, but he has, many of you are maybe familiar with Randy James, who owns a real estate management company. He manages it, so no one knows who the guy is, or well, I only met him one time, but they could get in touch with Randy James because he has a legal contract with that gentleman to manage that property, and he can make decisions on behalf of the owner to allow things like that if that were the case. So I just wanted to be sure that there was language in there that would allow that, because it's not technically the owner that it would. You see what I'm saying? Like if it was, you put language in there that it was you have contracted, or you have. Is that currently in there?
The owner or the legal representative.
Yes, or whatever.
You would need to add an amendment to this so we can add that. I see what you're saying, and just kind of paraphrase what it would be. We can add that as an amendment.
But not take away any of y'all's
No.
Just allow that
it makes complete sense. And then that way, when it goes in front of City Council, it won't have to come back around for that.
Because I can see that coming up.
Yeah.
We said the property owner or the legal representative of the property owner.
But and that would need to be added. So you would need to add it as an amendment, and then vote on the amendment, and then vote on these.
Yeah, and these are things that we could add today.
Correct.
We would
Yes.
have, I wanted. Okay.
So does Ronnie need to move for this amendment right now? Is that the way we would do this?
Well,
How does this
I
work?
mean,
once
you get through
but
with
is today he'll need to do a
Yes.
motion for the amendment.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you'll have to articulate it the way
Exactly.
you want it to sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And secondly, I think that I liked when you said that you had in here that you would list online those that had violations.
Yes.
But I think, in coming from someone in the transportation industry, you can go online and see if I'm licensed to do business with. So if we are loading up, taking the time to load up maybe a list of violations, if there could be a section in there where we could list who are authorized food trucks. So, and where a lot of this comes from is you say there's 35 food trucks and there's only 8 in compliance. It's because when you talk to a lot of people in different industries, they'll say, well, you know what? I'm not going down there and wasting my money because they don't enforce it for everybody. So it's the ability for everybody in that industry to know, okay, Alan's got his food truck license because he's on the MPC's website, and we know, or this person does not, because if he did, he would be up on the site. And it also, for your enforcement guys, and there's a lot of different ways they can look at that and notify the police officers or whoever else is working with you guys on compliance, that no one has to call the office and leave a message and wait to get a call back. If they're out there, they can check it pretty quick if it's updated as soon as the application's approved. And I'm not looking to put more work on you. I'm just looking for to save you guys a couple phone calls if you could list it online one time. And
well, considering we'll be the ones taking in the applications, it won't be difficult to just have a running list of who the current license holders are. Other cities currently do that. Brentwood, Tennessee does that. Yeah. So it'd be easy to be modeled after.
Because usually when you get ratted on, it's by your competitors. and that's and it's fair, because if you're doing the right thing and paying your insurance and all your permits, then you get a little frustrated when someone else is undercutting your prices because they're not following the same rules. So.
And we heard that in that meeting that they want to make sure that everybody is playing by the same set of rules.
Yes.
And those that are not, that they are prosecuted, are forced to comply with the same set of rules that they are, yeah. Which we liked.
Yes, sir. Okay. I think that was it. And my question is, like when the hot dog guy sets up downtown on the sidewalk, is that going to be, nothing's going to change with that, right?
No, he's a itinerant vendor that's approved through DDA, and they have their
DDA
own.
Approves
yes, they have their own regulations through the city code. Okay. Now I know there's one hot dog vendor. It's not the one that does downtown, but Hot Dog Hut. They want to come into compliance because they currently own a trailer and they're outfitting it, and and they were at the meeting. So, but in terms of their proximity and their rules and regulations, they're governed differently than a food trucker and trailer.
Okay, all right, that's all the questions.
That's not your hot dog stand in.
No, I like the hot dog guy. I just
you gotta keep an eye on you.
He was reporting the hot dog.
He got 10 trailers.
Online. This one. Do you have to show up in person?
Are
the applications online, or do you have to show up in person?
Once we've contacted NGO, we've gotten the ball rolling. So if this actually goes through and is approved at City Council, then come the beginning of September, it'll be online through NGO.
Yeah, you go online, pay online, they'll do all that,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Great.
And the permit is the same for a trailer than it is for the food truck?
Correct. It
Same
identifies
cost, same
a
everything.
food truck and a food trailer. Commonly we just call everything food trucks, but it specifically identifies one or the other or both.
Good work, Adam.
Yes.
Yeah, great work.
Yeah, that's really nice. Now, I saw that there's some wording about how far can you be from a restaurant?
Yes.
Did that come from the food trucks guys or from the restaurant industry?
So there's current language in there right now that it's 25 feet. From a few restaurant owners asked to increase it to 100 feet.
And we agreed? I mean, we changed it?
It has been changed, yes. It's 100 feet. It's 100 feet from a brick and mortar establishment serving food. It's 50 feet from outdoor dining, and I think it's 50 feet from a hot dog hut.
Yeah, because if you had a restaurant, you'd hate for someone to sit out your parking lot. Get them while they're coming in.
Cheaper prices.
Little appetizer here.
Yeah. Anything else?
All right, any other questions, any motions?
Motion to.
No, this is great.
Or you wanted the amended?
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the amendments with an additional amendment to allow the legal representative of a business to authorize the sales.
You have to do
Yeah, I
for and
think you have
against,
to
just.
see if people
I see.
want to be for it or against it.
Okay. Oh, right, okay.
There's nobody here.
I know, but I still.
Goes on the record.
Okay, so there has been a motion to approve the amendments with the addition of an amendment to allow a landowner's authorized representative to permit a food, operation of a food truck on their property. Yes, whoever is authorized with that authority to, like an agent, if that, is there anybody here?
Second.
Like to speak in favor of that amendment or against that amendment?
Nobody here.
Okay, seeing none, board, what is your pleasure on the motion?
I second.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Remedies
Second.
and a second by
Roca.
Mr. Roca. All right, call for the vote. All right, so we have approved recommending those amendments to move forward to the city council next week. Yay.
I know.
Woohoo.
Yeah,
okay.
I would like to add something. Is that okay? I just asked a question and I don't think I got a clear answer. I think I asked, can you get that permit and use, if I own 3 trucks, can I use that permit for any truck that I want
I think it's
to? Or
for
does
each
it
truck.
belong to a particular truck? And I don't know that we have an answer to
Well,
that.
I mean, when you get an inspection sticker, and you have multiple cars,
I
you
think
have
you could just
multiple
use any
inspection stickers, so I would think
Each
each one would need to have their own.
So it's attached to each truck, each permit.
Correct.
So you, okay, all right.
Okay, so, any old business? Moving on, we do have for new business, the Budget Committee met on Monday to review the recommended budget from the staff. And our committee recommended that it be brought to our board today for approval as presented. And there's a copy of it somewhere.
It's the one with the color pages.
It's this.
Looks
Oh,
like-
yeah.
You just say motion to approve.
Motion approved.
Well,
Second.
if everyone's looked at it, I would ask Mr. Clark just to say a couple of things about it, because it's fun to have a budget discussion that's good. It's not, that's actually promising, and we're feeling very supported by the city and the parish.
Can I say something before you make, I'd like to officially represent the Budget Committee by
Okay.
recommending that this budget be approved.
Okay, thank you.
And then you can open for.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Andrews. So,
Real briefly, if I may, Madam Chair, you sort of run through a couple of pages with me. The first page, as you open up the presentation, is the organization structure. We've modified the organization structure of our office. We were able to add an additional zoning inspector. So we now have 3 zoning inspectors, and the new zoning inspector will start work on the 15th. If you look across from zoning administration, community planning has 2 community planners. The new community planner to go along with the existing community planning planner will start August the 12th. We added a receptionist to the administrative assistant. If you notice, Emily is running around in all kind of different directions, trying to do all kind of different things, and also she bags up the front desk, so we're gonna hire a receptionist. The next page is the operating budget. It shows you where the money comes from. It's pretty traditional where it does. 65% of our funds come from the city of Shreveport. 17% of our funds come from the parish of Caddo, and 18% of our funds are user fees. just like we were talking about the temporary use permits, the special use permits, etc. And how we spend those funds, as in most organizations and every department within the city of Shreveport, the bulk of funds expenditures are in personal services. That's salaries, benefits, and so forth to employees. We do 7% for contractual services and 2% for materials and supplies. The next page, and that's far as I'll go unless you are interested in me going further, it sort of shows you how we have evolved and shows you the major revenue assumptions. It shows you that zoning credits in 2018, we actually received $150,000. In 2019, we budgeted $128,000. We estimate that we will do $132,000. So we will actually exceed what we had budgeted in 2019. Therefore, we are budgeting in 2020 $131,500. Certificates of occupancies, and this is an indication of the increase, the business climate in the city of Shreveport. In 2018, we got $160,000 in certificate of occupancy fees. In 2018, we budgeted $161,000. In 2019, we estimated $188,500, and we actually budgeted $167,000, but it probably will be more. That was just a conservative estimate on the part of the executive director. And it shows you how funding has evolved. In 2018, Caddo Parish contributed $200,000, and the city of Shreveport contributed, and it's up to $716,000. That was when we had the significant decreases in funding. In 2019, we budgeted on behalf of Caddo Parish $273,000, and the city of Shreveport $1,063,000. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about we were able to restore funding to the level that it had previously been at from the significant decreases that were done in 2018. We estimate that we actually got $240,000 from the parish, the $1,063,000 from the city. For 2020, we are estimating that the parish has said that they will up their funding level. So from $240,000 to $273,000 is what we're expecting from the parish, and $1,063,000 from the city. We've already got a target letter from the city stating that the $1,063,400 will be provided by the city. Would you like for me to go further?
No.
Thank you. I was looking at everybody while I was talking, saying, why is he going on and on?
Do you have a, Mr. Mesa?
I just had a question.
Yes.
Staff. On the 2020 proposed budget, you had 66 on page 297 here. 2020 annual operating budget. It was up. The professional services was estimated or proposed at $66,300. Is that just, you mentioned a percentage of the overall budget? Is that where that came from, or do you foresee some professional services that we are going to increase?
Professional services is such a broad category.
It is, yes.
And we're expecting to, as you saw today, we're not real skilled at dealing with telecommunication wireless services, and we need consultants.
You got the consultant, right?
And we're gonna have to bring in consultants more and more, and that's why we're increasing that category, and to do some more things as far as master plan updates, continued modifications to the UDC. So that's where that cost is going to be absorbed.
Okay, yeah. You said it was 7% of the overall budget.
Yeah.
That's what you had. Okay. Yeah, I was just
Oh, that's
bring
why
out if there was something that specifically that you foresee that was coming that we.
It's nothing negative. It's
Sure.
just we're going to have to expand our ability to address all of the different things that we're being confronted with, and the best way to do that is get persons that are equipped to handle those situations.
Well, and it's cheaper to do it right the first time.
Yes, sir,
And-
instead of being sued.
And that keeps you nimble and up to speed with what's happening.
Sir?
I said, that keeps you nimble and up to speed with what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we realized. I mean, if we start trying to wing it,
Right. You
we're
spend
gonna
more
get
time.
in a lot
get it
more
on.
trouble than these costs are costing us.
Okay, that's all the questions I had.
All right. If there's no further discussion, what is the board's pleasure
There's
as?
a motion on the floor.
I second it.
Okay, there's, was your motion to recommend it to council or to?
To approve.
To cancel.
Yes, okay, so there's a motion to approve this budget to go forward to council and commission, and a second by Mr. Marteau. All right. and
We
that's
thank you and the staff. Thank you.
approved. Thank you very much. This was very detailed and professionally presented.
Thank you.
All right, well, I have no comments on the chair portion, but, any other board members or director, do we have any reports?
I will be real short,
Okay.
because I can tell people are preparing to leave.
No,
Uh,
just got my eyes
Those representatives for the master plan committee, there will be a meeting, Friday. Hopefully you can attend. What time is it, Adam?
11:45 to 1.
This Friday?
This Friday, August 9th. And, you missing that too?
Always
No, I missed the
Friday.
email again, I guess.
No, it hasn't gone out, but it's
Oh, I
always
was like, how did I miss it
it's
again?
always the Friday
Yeah,
after.
I'm
You're
warning
right,
you, I'm
you're
warning
right.
you in advance.
You're right, you're right.
Yeah, that's gonna happen and,
Prepare anything?
You don't know.
we officially have a vacancy, on the MPC board. The submission by, Mr. Thurston Jackson was submitted today to the parish. So, that position is open, and I'm sure that the parish, because that parish operates pretty quickly, will have a person up by the next meeting. And I just want to say in closing that my objective and the goal is to get as much staff participation involved in these hearings as possible. If you notice, more and more I'm yielding to them because they work extremely hard. Reginald Jordan has been extremely quiet. You will think that he may not know anything, but he's a very talented and very knowledgeable individual. And when issues come up, I'm going to begin yielding to him also, because you need to understand your staff, and you need to meet your staff and appreciate the knowledge of your staff.
And I think we do, and thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great, it's great leadership.
Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you,
Motion to
Master
dismiss.
Director.
I just had one thing
Oh,
for
Mr. Remedios?
staff. Dale just had the website pulled up, and there's 2 board members that are no longer on the board that are still on the website.
Okay.
So we can update that.
Oh.
Yeah, Alan on this.
Need your picture on there.
We'll get that
I need to
taken
put my
care of.
picture
Need a
there.
picture on there.
So they don't.
We're still trying to get a picture and frame of Mr. Mauricio Ruca. So we're
Don't be
gonna
shy.
get with Adam and make sure we get that done as quickly as
I
possible.
can use it 2 spots.
All right.
Okay, who's moving to adjourn?
Dale
Someone?
did.
Just enough, if enough of us leave, it won't be.
Okay, all right.
That's been done before. Hey, that's been done last week.
Good job, man.
Tired, I don't know if you wanna-